Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is Monday, December the 5th, now into Tuesday, December the 6th, 2011. We are live here with you tonight, and we're going to be getting into a whole bunch of news and information for you here on the broadcast tonight. And if you'd like to send in emails, if you're listening live tonight, if you happen to be tuning into the stream tonight, you have a question or a comment, or something else of that nature, please feel free to send that over to me tonight or anytime at globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. If you'd like to conduct an interview on the up-and-coming film that is now slowly trickling out and being released, my new film, The Secret Right, Volume 2, that's where you can email me out as well. We are also going to be continuing our reading time. We're going to be getting into Chapter 2 of the Kabbalion. We started reading last week, going through all these different books and different suggestions from people and reading this stuff. So, fun stuff there we'll get into tonight as well for you on the broadcast. My website, where this broadcast originates from, is www.theglobalreality.com. That's theglobalreality.com, and there you'll find the link to the stream, to the radio show archives, video clips from past shows. You know, I need to tell Manhydra, we should go ahead and take that Global Reality TV thing off the website. It doesn't, back when Justin TV used to allow me to use it for what I wanted to use it for, which was to stream movies from a hard drive, it was great. Because we'd have, get-togethers in there, and we'd all hang out and watch movies and stuff, and it was fun. But since they don't allow you to do that function anymore, it's pretty worthless. Unless I do live video stuff, which is rare. I'm not a big fan of being in front of a camera, to be honest with you. I like being behind a camera. I like being behind a microphone. Don't much like being in front of a camera. It's just not my thing. I got a face for radio, as they say. But anyway, so yeah, I think we probably should go ahead and take that off. But music CDs up there. We're trying to right now. I'm trying to work on some new Demigod stuff to get some new stuff out for you. We did some recordings back in September, and we just never have gotten around to really finishing those. So they need to be finished up. But some of it's pretty good. Some of it I think needs to be redone. My problem is just having money and cash and stuff like that. But hopefully, if the film does well, maybe we'll be able to fund a recording a new record in a better studio and all that stuff. Because we got some really good new material I want you guys to hear. We sound, I think, better than we ever have lately. We got a big gig coming up Saturday, so exciting stuff there. Also, under the documentaries tab, my new film, The Secret Right, Volume 2, I've now added an additional 49 minutes on YouTube. It's now up. You can go watch that. That's so we released the first hour a couple of weeks ago. Now we've got it 49 minutes directly picks up right where that first hour. I cut it at the exact time, right when it picks up, and it leaves off and the part that I think everybody's been really wanting to see. Although I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you. I mean, for a lot of you hardcore researchers, probably going to be there's probably going to be a lot in the last segment with that deals with primarily Alex Jones, a little bit of Ron Paul at the end, and a little bit of Congressman Ralph Hall from Texas at the very end as well. But nonetheless, that's kind of the stuff everybody's been kind of wanting to see. So for now, the only way you're going to be able to see that is to either buy the $5 pay-per-view or buy the DVD and Blu-ray, which will be shipping in the next few weeks. I'm still waiting to get the final art in from the artist. And as soon as I get that in, I'll have it out the door. He's got it done, but he's doing stuff like getting it scaled and getting everything, set to the template that they want for the manufacturing process. So that's going to be happening the next few days, and then we'll have those out. But yeah, so 49, that middle segment there, and that's the big segment that deals with PsyOps and Michael Aquino and the Temple of Set and Johnny Gosh, Jeff Gannon. So definitely go in and check that out. And also under Secret Ride Volume 2, that's where you can buy your DVD and Blu-ray packages as well. We've had a few orders so far. We've had about, I think 5 or 6. And so that's good. And I'm going to, those of you who have ordered, by the way, we hadn't had a whole lot yet. But, I haven't been on any radio shows promoting this or anything yet. This is kind of a soft release. We're not really doing I'm going to wait till discs are in hand and all the rest of this stuff to start pushing the release a lot harder than I am right now. But it's kind of a process. I think a lot of people have been under the impression that, the day the movie was done, that my work with this is done, and that's far from it. I mean, far from it. There's still a lot of work to be done, even though the film is done. But the good thing is, hey, we don't have any more money to have to put in it or anything like that. It's, all the rest of the stuff is just formalities at this point, which is great. But I'll tell you what, man, you guys know that anytime we have things that go on with the stream or with the website or with my computers, you guys know me. I don't get up here every time something like this happens and automatically say, oh, they're fucking with me. They're messing with my stuff. Because, I mean, you can, because I've been guilty of that too. I've been guilty of thinking it was that. I thought it was that on I think it was my 3-year anniversary show. Man, my 3-year anniversary show, the day of, our internet just dies and goes out. And I was like, yeah, they're fucking with me. They knew I was going to bring the hammer down, blah, 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 going off. And then come to find out it was the dog. The dog chewed the fiber optic cable. But I could have sworn up and down it was him fucking with me. So, sometimes things do happen. And they aren't the result of spooks and operators and people messing with you. But on the flip side of that, those things are very real. Those things do happen. And I think you've got to be a lot more cautious and notice those things. So I hadn't wanted to get up here on the show and say this yet, but I tell you what, I've been trying. I don't even know how long it's been now. 22nd was when I had the film officially done. Well, I burned one initial disc DVD and one initial Blu-ray for masters. The Blu-ray turned out beautifully. I loved it. No problems with it. The DVD looked like it wasn't as high of a resolution as it could have been. So I was going to bounce everything down to a high-res file and then burn the DVD from that file. When what I'd originally done was I just burned a DVD straight from the program, right? Well, ever since then, I had no problems encoding a file down for the pay-per-view release or any of that. Ever since then, man, my Mac will not render down any file all the way down. It's the strangest thing. This has been doing this for almost 2 weeks now. I've tried everything possible. I've tried going to support. Mac won't. They don't even have a clue. They've never had anything with this problem. It's the strangest thing because it cooks and goes superb, and it gets to 99% complete with 30 seconds remaining, and it just freezes. And sometimes it freezes the whole computer. And it's not a RAM issue because I've got 16 gigs of RAM in this thing. There's no other programs running. There's not any. I don't even have the internet on the thing. I only turn it on for updates, and so if I'm working on a film and I've got to get a clip or a picture from YouTube or something like that, I'll have it on and do that. But I thought it was this end file that I was using, the animation. Because it seemed that it was just hanging on that part. I tried taking that out and just doing a black background, which I don't know, may end up being the final thing. I don't know yet. But I mean, I've got a DVD copy and I've got a Blu-ray copy of it. And I just wasn't happy with the resolution on the DVD copy, but this is a brand new Mac. This should not be doing this. I don't know. I feel like this is, I don't know how they could be messing with me if these things not connected to the internet, but it just is odd. Really odd. Maybe it's Mercury retrograde. I don't know. That's going on. Normally that always hammers every time there's Mercury retrograde, and it happens a lot. But swear to God, every time during the year when there's a Mercury retrograde, my computers and everything goes tits up. You guys have heard it that have been listening to my show for a long time. The microphones will start making fucking squealing sounds and shit like that out of the clear blue yonder. And you'll start picking up, frequencies and cell phone signals and shit like that. The computers just go in technology. And that's one of the things that Mercury retrograde does. So maybe that's it. Maybe I'll chalk it up to that. I don't know, but it's just odd. It's driving me crazy. And there's no solution for it. Well, actually there probably is. I'm going to be honest with you. When I got this Mac, thanks to our donator, Scott, I had pretty much just enough to get, the Mac and the RAM upgrade and the Blu-ray burner and that was the warranty or whatever. That was pretty much it. After tax and all that, And so when I got Final Cut Pro 10, the newest one for this operating system, it won't let you use the older ones. I went to the old Pirate Bay and got my copy there because I didn't have an extra $300 to buy the software with. And so now they've got an up like the 10.3. This is just 10.0. Suppose they have a 10.3 out now. It's supposed to be better. But the problem is that I upgraded to 10.2 at one point, and nothing would work. The whole program wouldn't even load. Now they're saying 10.3 is out and it's foolproof, but I got to pay $300 for it. And I don't even know if because I've had problems with it. It says it'll import your sessions from the other files, but I've had it not do that. I installed the update and it didn't do that. It's not really that big of a deal. I've got the files separately. I've got them all rendered down. But that looks like that's the only solution. I think the only thing I'm going to be able to do is wait till I have $300 to upgrade it to a licensed version that's in my name and all that stuff. Because this is pirated like a motherfucker, and I think that's probably the problem. Yeah, fuck, man, that's stiff. But what I found is with these Macs is that's it's kind of part of the game. Because when it works beautifully, But the whole thing with them is, okay, the machine's this much, and then that's kind of how they get around the whole piracy thing. Because, even if you get a pirated copy, you can't get the updates. And I think that's what they do. They put out this software that's inferior. Well, of course, that's what they do. I don't have to speculate. I know exactly what they do. I've worked in the industry. I worked in the industry 10 years ago for a couple of years, up till 9/11 happened. But I worked in the software industry, and hell yeah, that's exactly what they did. They put that shit out on the unsuspecting public, and the public, hungry for new shit. They beta tested on the public. And it's been going on forever. Anyway, this thing's driving me crazy. I don't know what to do. I guess I'm just going to have to find a way to pony up the cash to get the software. But, like I said, the other things I've had to pay for, little apps and stuff like that, they have worked quite well. The video converters and stuff, for this thing are just incredible. They're incredibly fast. But I think you guys have seen so far with if you've seen the whole film or if you've seen the previews we put up on YouTube so far, I think you guys will agree the quality has definitely stepped up in just dramatic fashion from other stuff that I've done. I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about making more films now. I don't want to stop. I've got it in my blood now. I'm just kind of addicted to it, because it's so rewarding, man. I mean, it's rewarding. It's a hell of a lot of work and stress and bullshit and whatever, but in the end, it's worth it because you learn so much and you learn more than you can ever learn just doing daily. Even if you're somebody that researches all the time, it's wild. I can't explain it. I research all the time and read stuff all the time constantly, especially late at night, but you find so much more when you're in the process of making a film. You gain a newer perspective. Every time I've made my third full-length film, and consecutively on all three of these full-length films, I feel like I've leveled up after each one. Like I've gone to another level. And so that's that's the thing for me. It's so rewarding, especially when you get to talk to people after they've watched the whole thing, and people, you see what people laugh at, and you hope, I put little jokes in there in certain places, and it's good, when people catch those jokes and they say, they catch that and they laugh. I like that because I try to put some humor in all of my movies. You'll notice in at least one, if not more, spots of any of my movies, you will find at least one or two things that are humorous, if not semi-humorous. I always like to have a little comic relief in there and have some, because you start talking about some of these subjects, man, and you can just get bogged down in the bullshit, really. That's why, look, I could have made this film long as shit. To me, well, it's a conundrum. I don't want to say it's easy. It's not easy physically doing it, but to me, it's easier to make, a film that has no restraints on it than it is to make something that is, that says a lot in a shorter amount of time. Because there's just no way you're going to kill yourself, and you're an absolute maniac if you're going to try to get every little nook and cranny and every little thing in one film. It's impossible. So there are a lot of things that I left out, a lot of clips I left out. I would have loved to have put the Secret Society speech from JFK in there. That's just been overused and overused. I would have loved to have put, people are probably going to wonder why I didn't put some of the Bill Cooper stuff talking about Alex Jones in there. That stuff's all over a million YouTube video clips. Anytime you type Bill Cooper, Alex Jones, and you get that, I've just heard those clips so many times. I really didn't want to retread the same ground, because you can go watch any of these other films out there that have that same stuff in it. To me, it wasn't worth it to do that. So I have to say I'm happy with it. I'm usually not happy with. I felt like when I made. I don't know. I felt with all the films. It's like with anything you do, you always think you could be better, but really with this one, I really do feel like I got it as close to exactly what I wanted it to be than I have anything else I've ever done. I can definitely say that. But I did leave some stuff out, and I tried to go back and put some of the stuff in. I was like, oh well, I forgot this and that, and I went back and started recutting some of this stuff into the film. And I started noticing that it just seemed to make some of the segments bogged down. You know what I mean? To me, it was like all the segments of the film were already the perfect length. Because you can start getting down too many rabbit trails and you lose people. So I definitely wanted to stick to stuff where I knew I was going to keep people's attention. And, well, you know what? Say what you will about these analytics and all this data gathering that Google and all this stuff's doing. They're integrating this stuff into everything now. We've got some stories pertaining to that tonight. It's amazing. They've gotten people completely on the Google dick. I mean, people are just on the Google dick. And now they're trying to replace Windows with Android operating systems, which, granted will probably be fantastic because it won't be a big bloated code. It's the same code that they run on tablets and laptops and smartphones and stuff like that. So you'll probably get a lot more processing power out of whatever you're running it on. But you got to understand, as soon as you put that OS on your computer is 100% locked into the matrix. It is in the system. It is into Google, which then locks into Echelon, which is then locks into directly into the NSA. Yes, that's the cloud. There you go. And I got to tell you, folks, I know we're going to see people migrating to this in droves, and it scares the shit out of me, man. You want to talk about stuff we got to fight. I mean, fuck, going down and occupying some federal buildings. I don't like any of these computer monopolies, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, I don't like any of these guys any more than the other one. But when you have a company like Google that is posing as a, public owned entity or a publicly owned company, private sector company that's anything but the sort, then everybody should have a big problem with that. And that's the problem is that people have just been too conditioned or just don't care. So they don't have a problem with it. But that's the whole problem with it. Google is not a company. The idea that it's a company is a front. It's being funded from the top down to appear to be a public-private entity that's 100% technologically embedded into the intelligence community. Man, we're on the subject of this now, aren't we? Might as well just dive right in it. Let me go see what these stories I have pertaining to that. Yeah, here it is. Windows smash. Could your next PC run Android instead? Could your next laptop or netbook or even desktop PC run Android instead of Windows? A new version of Google software is now compatible with Intel and AMD chips, which would in theory allow the operating system to work on full-size PCs. Up until now, Android has been confined to the phones and touchscreen tablets. There are already 200 million Android devices worldwide. Google, of course, does already have its own light operating system, Chrome OS, which runs on netbooks such as Samsung's and is based largely on an internet browser with apps added. As yet, Chrome OS has not been a huge hit, and few manufacturers have flocked to it. Google's popular and increasingly slick Android OS might be a different matter. The news came via a message board posting spotted by 9 to 5 Google and refers to a new version of Ice Cream Sandwich, which is compatible with x86 chips, i.e. Intel's and AMD's. Ice Cream Sandwich is the latest version of Google's Android operating system, which brings a high-tech feature such as 3D compatibility and face tracking, so phones and tablets can be locked until their cameras see their owner's faces. See, again, that's how they get you onto that stuff. They start installing these cameras into every device. They start installing them into, you don't even want them. Well, my Mac has one. I put fucking tape over the camera on this thing. They install this stuff whether you want it or not now. And you're a fool to think that they're not going to use this and aren't using. They use it for content-specific advertising. It's a fact. But that's how they get you to acquiesce to these eye scans and face scans and everything else. Oh, yeah, it's for your security. Well, yeah, but that's going right through a Google operating system, which goes directly and feeds into these massive supercomputers. Which, by the way, we have some stories pertaining to tonight. Now, this is interesting. Listen to this. A 900 million pound scheme to produce a computer system which would predict the next financial crisis has been backed by leading scientists. The Living Earth Simulator Project, LES, aims to simulate everything on the planet using anything from tweets to government statistics to map out social trends and predict the economic crisis. Well, they've had this for years. Come on, really? Are they really going to act like this is some new thing? My God. These assholes have admitted they've had these type of computer systems. It's on the public record, folks. You can go and look up documentations on supercomputers all day long. What's the company that makes a big one? What's the name of that company? Crane or can't remember the name of it, but yeah. The DOD and the Pentagon have had supercomputer systems like this for decades. The advertising agencies have had access to these type of computers for decades. That's how they create trends, folks. That's how they create the fashion industry. They run analytics. They run all of these, for lack of a better term, war game scenarios. So they're not all war game scenarios. They're marketing scenarios. They know if, black sweaters are going to be a trend 6 years from now. They know it. And then that information trickles down into their design teams, and boom, they start creating these fashions. That's why they want all of this data. That's why they want you with a Google OS on everything that goes into their systems. And yes, you can get up there and rant and rave like Jonesy all day long about, folks, I want all your info. But really, yes, that's true. But really, it's all about more effective ways to sell you crap. In fact, I saw a story today. I didn't have it here in my stack prepared tonight, but they're saying now that they may waive the surcharge for ATMs now by making you watch because screens are fucking nothing now. You can get a 32-inch high-def TV for fucking $200 now, and a Blu-ray player for $50. I had a few people say, I said if they wanted to get a Blu-ray or a DVD of my new film, The Secret Volume 2, I can't afford a Blu-ray player. I'm like, man, I can't afford a Blu-ray player either, but I have one because they're $50. I was telling that to Lee Rogers because Lee doesn't have a Blu-ray player, and he had no idea that they'd come down so fucking dirt cheap in price. I got mine 6 months ago, and I think I paid $50 for it. They're ridiculously dirt cheap now. All this stuff is that way. But, man, oh, man, oh, man. It just blows me away that they're acting like this is somehow something they haven't, who actually has a more powerful supercomputer than even the DOD and the Department of Defense and Pentagon, the whole deal? Walmart. No shit. Actually, the Pentagon has actually had to use theirs several times. They have a supercomputer system that is so massive that it tracks every product in every store, in every Walmart chain worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in real time. In real time. Every time something scans through a checkout in a Walmart, that automatically goes through this supercomputer that crunches this data, and they determine price, stock, everything from that. And they auto ship their inventories out. They don't have anybody that goes in. They don't go up people to go in Walmart stores and do inventory. It auto ships by itself. So the fact that they would act like, oh, well, now we're going to be having this new project to figure out what the new trends are. They've had this for years. The man behind the idea has built it as a nervous system for the planet. See, a lot of these stories are interestingly tied because this kind of coincides with another story, and I've seen this story ran a couple of times the past couple of days. They're now talking about geoengineering the planet again. And we may have to geoengineer the planet to save us from global warming. Well, meanwhile, negating the hard evidence that we know this has been going on for a long amount of time. What they're doing now is attempting to make this stuff public, give an official explanation that is the official government story on it, and then get us all to pay for it. Because, see, this is cutting into their pocketbooks now, and they don't like that. So they had to figure out, every time they have an operation against us, they have to figure out a way to make us pay for our own demise. And I think that's the same case here with this supercomputer stuff. They're rolling out this stuff more, and I go, oh, well, look what we have now. No, I mean, my God. How retarded do you think we are? I was telling my cousin the other day, she's about my age. I think her and I are about a month apart, but she was, she had posted something on Facebook that said, tell me I'm not going crazy, but I was looking out in the sky, clear night, stars were crystal clear, and right in the middle of this clear sky, I see a white cloud and a lightning bolt come out of nowhere. Am I losing my mind? And I said, no, you're not losing your mind. You've been weather modding all week that week, doing weather modification. You could tell, you see the planes, you see the trails, you see the weather patterns, all this stuff. And she was like, what? How exactly can they modify the weather? So I proceeded to lay out all the evidence, and, it's old tech. But, why do I don't know? How do I not know about this? I mean, there are lots of things, folks, that are true and are real that go on every day, all the time, and have gone on for a long time that they just don't advertise. There are nuclear missile silos all over the place. You probably live near or close to one, depending on where you live. I know I do. I know there's some that are not far from where I live. I know for a fact there are. But very few people know that. People don't because they don't advertise it. They started putting explosives in tall skyscrapers and buildings in the early 1970s. And they said for a fact when they did that they didn't tell people about it. They didn't advertise it. Because Sally's soccer mom was not going to feel safe going to her building every day. But for a fact, they started pre-planning buildings with explosives because they said when it came time, in the future, to bring down these huge, gigantic buildings, to put the explosives in these buildings would be a engineering feat all its own. So again, just because they don't advertise it and just because it's something that you're not aware of, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'm kind of jaded, not jaded in a bad way, but conditioned to all this stuff now because I've just been looking at all this stuff for so long and I have so many pieces of the puzzle, and by no means all of them, but I have so many of them that now that nothing's shocking anymore, nothing's surprising me anymore. But I also find that my discernment has gotten a lot sharper and a lot better. And man, people have really been buying into some horse shit lately. I mean, my God, people's discernment level is. I mean, I feel like my discernment level is reaching an all-time high, and I feel like everybody else's out there is reaching an all-time low. I mean, everybody pissing themselves and running around and shitting themselves with fear sauce, diarrhea over this fucking Senate bill. And nobody bothered to read the motherfucker themselves. Rand Hydra was talking about this in the chat room the other day. Senate Bill 1867, they're talking about America's a battlefield and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to contain any sins. They've had this shit forever. Have you ever read Patriot Act 1 or 2? Have you ever read any of those hundreds and hundreds of those pages? Because a fucking dumbass motherfucker like me has. And they have given themselves the legal authority to do things most people would call a conspiracy theory for the past 10 years, folks. And now we're supposed to get enraged and upset about this? Number one, they've already had this, or what this is perpetrating itself to be. They've had this for a long time. But how many cases of it do you find that are enforced? Some. probably a far fewer number than any of you would admit. That's the thing about these laws, folks. You can listen to the things that like Alex Jones regurgitates all the time, and you think about how many of these things are actually enforced. Very, very few and far between. But the fact is that that we see that the things that they have given themselves the legal right to do far exceeds the things that they've actually done with that legal authority. But taken from Senate Bill 1867, and again, if any of you out there had bothered to read this, and of course we trace back the source of this fear sauce chilada with shit yourself and panic rice and beans on the side. Of course, you know where that came from. The fear sauce mongers. It was a Paul Joseph Watson article over there, the InfoWars camp. It says in section 1032B of Senate Bill 1867, applicability to United States citizens and lawful resident aliens. Number one, United States citizens. The requirement to detain a person in military custody under this section does not extend to citizens of the United States. Let me read that again. Does not extend to citizens of the United States. Number two, lawful resident aliens. The requirement to detain a person in military custody under this section does not extend to a lawful resident alien of the United States on the basis of conduct taking place within the United States, except to the extent permitted by the Constitution of the United States. But what I don't see them making a big deal about, or I didn't see Paul Joseph Watson pointing that out, or talking about this. What I would say here, of course, Jones would never say this because he hates illegal aliens and he thinks he's said illegal aliens are scum and all this stuff. I don't know, man. I just think whenever you get in the business of calling, I call I guess I'm a hypocrite there because I call the elite New World Order fuckers scum, but I don't know, man. When you get in the business of calling one group of people scum over another, I think that's putting you in one of those hate monger categories. And I think Jones definitely is a hate monger. Whether he can sit there on that radio show and say all day long he's not, but he's full of shit. You can hear it in his voice. Only a hate monger would have that much venom, and you can just hear it. So illegal aliens are fucked. That's what Alex Jones will tell you basically about that. He wants to tell you that you need to shit yourself and run around with fear and worry about being detained. But really, what they're saying, they're declaring here, to me, and I don't hear any of the media, mainstream or alternative or otherwise, pointing this out. But to me, when I was reading these documents, I got the impression that this seemed like an all-out declaration of war against illegal aliens. But I think nobody wants to believe that would happen under a, quote-unquote, liberal Democrat presidency. Of course, you didn't think that the war effort would continue under a liberal Democrat presidency, and you didn't think that the continuation of right-wing policies and Bush policies and business as usual would continue underneath a Democratic black president, putting the emphasis on the race that you all said was so important. To which I still say the same thing I said before this motherfucker was elected, which I don't give a fuck if he's black, white, brown, red, yellow, green, doesn't matter. If he's a politician, he's up to no good, and who gives a fuck what color he is? They're all the same. But really, people, get some discernment. Start looking at this stuff. Quit looking at the sensationalized bullshit that people post on Facebook and MySpace and all this stuff. That's what these people that write these articles are looking for, the sensationalist stuff that grabs headlines. I refuse to play that game. I've got stuff in my films that's bombshell. The stuff that's in Secret Volume 2 is bombshell. But I'm not, bombasting it out there, blah, blah. It's just totally ridiculous stuff. What else do we have here? I had another one tied into this supercomputer stuff. Oh, yeah. Caesar 3 here yet again. See, I believe and have believed for some time that we already are in control by a massive supercomputer system that they created that's now, essentially running the show and hasn't been running the show since September 11, 2001. Supposedly that's when they turned all control over to this thing. But this is interesting because it makes you wonder, a system like a growing artificially intelligent like that, it would just want more data. The only thing it would know how to do is just collate more information and grow bigger and bigger in any way that it could. You ever seen the first Star Trek the motion picture? This giant things like, sucking up everything it comes across, galaxies, planets, ships, everything. And Spock goes inside this thing to mind meld with it. And this entity keeps calling it V'ger. V'ger's looking for the creator, and then they figure out it's Voyager. The Voyager space program, and this thing was this primitive, satellite that we launched in the 70s, and it was just programmed to look for information and transmit it back and find the creator of all things. IBM braces itself for deluge of data from a telescope which outputs an exabyte of data a day. More traffic than the whole internet. Well, I wonder what could process that. You need a supercomputer. I wonder what would be the purpose of that much data? What are they looking for? Again, more stories here on the docket tonight than I think will answer that question. The 1.3 billion square kilometer array is one of the most ambitious science projects ever undertaken and the biggest telescope ever built. It will consist of dishes spread out over a square kilometer of land in either South Africa or New Zealand, and will scan the sky 10,000 times faster than any existing telescope. Signals received by the SCA square kilometer array will be transferred to a central high-performance supercomputer by optical fibers. The rate at which the vast quantities of data will be transferred will far exceed the data rates of current internet traffic, but IBM is already designing machines to digest it. The amount of data captured by the dishes is near impossible to even imagine, enough to fill 15 million of the largest capacity iPods every day. Currently, most astronomy projects are managed manually, i.e. by astronomers using computers, but picking which data to home in on. The sky will generate so much data that this will be impossible. So again, they're pulling so much data in, and it makes you wonder they're certainly looking for something. It certainly seems that over the past decade, we've seen an acceleration in observation devices, in things that gather information or gather data. It just seems like all our technological explosions are going towards that. The sky will scan the sky 10,000 times faster than any other telescope and will help scientists unravel mysteries such as dark energy by mapping the cosmic distribution of hydrogen and tracking young galaxies. It just seems that there's this really ramped up and intensified hunt and quest on information pertaining to space and planets and everything else. I think a lot of this has to do with controlled rollouts. Controlled rollouts of information like the extraterrestrial thing. Doing these things to slowly acclimate people to the idea, like these new things they're saying with these habitable planets. I think this is absolutely setting a backstory. So that if they decided to, pull the phony alien card, they want to make sure they have themselves a scientific, what they would believe is to be a scientifically waterproof and tight backstory, so they could explain where these alleged creatures came from. And I think they are setting the table for that with information like this, because again, we don't hear about any of this stuff, folks, unless they want us to hear about it. supposedly these people have known about other habitable planets and universes for an extremely long time, but are just now choosing to let us in on this. And the only reason that they would be letting us in on this is because it fits their agenda. NASA's Kepler mission has confirmed its first planet in the habitable zone, the Goldilocks zone, as they call it, the region where liquid cooled water could exist on a planet's surface. Kepler has also discovered more than 1,000 new planet candidates, nearly doubling its previous known count. 10 of these candidates are near Earth size in orbit in the habitable zone of their host star. Candidates require follow-up observations to verify that they are actual planets. The newly confirmed planet Kepler-22b is the smallest yet found to orbit in the middle of the habitable zone of a star similar to our own sun. The planet is about 2.4 times the radius of Earth. Scientists don't yet know if Kepler-22b has a predominantly rocky, gaseous, or liquid composition, but its discovery is a step closer to finding Earth-like planets. Previous research hinted at the existence of near-Earth-sized planets in a habitable zone, but clear confirmation proved elusive. The two other small planets orbiting stars smaller and cooler than our own sun recently were confirmed on the very edges of the habitable zone, with orbits more closely resembling those of Venus and Mars. So again, they've known about these kind of things for an extremely long amount of time. There's evidence that we have been, Earth's governments of the world have been running secret terraforming projects for a great amount of years. Venus, Mars, different places like that. That they've actually been tinkering with these planets' atmospheres for decades. Carl Sagan talked openly about this. I remember it being in a science book when I was in elementary school. They were saying by 2011, we'd be living on colonies on Venus, summer vacations on Venus, because we would have terraformed the planet by then. Unbelievable stuff. Let's see what else we have here. Interesting, all this stuff is coming out now that's similar to some of the themes that we're talking about in the new film, Cigarette Volume 2. Again, you can order your copies of that right now. They're on sale. My website, theglobalreality.com, underneath the documentaries tab. Go to the documentaries tab, go to Cigarette Volume 2, scroll down under the pay-per-view player, and we've got different packages there you can buy. But go ahead and order those. And, of course, the sooner you order, the sooner you're going to get it. So, but it's interesting how many of these things have come out lately. We talked about the Sirhan stuff. That's coming out, tying into this. And just right on time here with this Johnny Gosch, Jeff Gannon, sex, child, molestation, pedophile ring stuff that I've got in the 49 more minutes release of the Secret Volume 2. It's on YouTube right now. Recent charges of sexual abuse of children in Hollywood, just the tip of the iceberg, say experts. In a spate of recent allegations proves true, Hollywood may have a hideous epidemic on its hands. The past 2 weeks have brought 3 separate reports of alleged child sexual abuse in the entertainment industry. Martin Weiss, a 47-year-old Hollywood manager who represented child actors, was charged in Los Angeles on December 1st with sexually abusing a former client. His accuser, who was under 12 years old during the time of the alleged abusing, reported to authorities, and Weiss told him what they were doing was common practice in the entertainment industry. On November 21st, Fernando Rivas, 59, an award-winning composer for Sesame Street, was arraigned on charges of coercing a child to engage in sexually explicit conduct. Yeah, I mean, you got to figure, where are the fucking pedophiles going to hang out at? The kid shows, The Juilliard-trained composer was also charged with production and distribution of child pornography. And it's funny that this is just now coming out and that people are acting so shocked by it. This has been the big dirty little secret of politics. It's all coming out now, and again, this is another one of their controlled rollouts. Notice how if you had a rash of all these people coming forward. Oh, for years they didn't want to admit that because see, it used to be that if you were butt raped in a homosexual manner as a child, you were conditioned not to not to talk about that. You didn't want to tell, you tradition not to tell anybody that because, somebody's going to think you're gay or whatever. But see, now they're allowing this to come out because they want to allow all these Jesuit priests to come out of the closet and be openly gay. They want, so now they're trying to act like, oh, we didn't know, nobody ever knew that there was molestation going on in colleges and butt touching going on in college football programs and pedophilia and homosexuality running rampant everywhere. And oh yeah, nobody ever thought or ever dreamed that was going on in Hollywood or anywhere else. And oh my goodness, our leaders would never go out to fucking Bohemian Grove and do massive rituals and engage in, sick, all sorts of pedophilia and rape and snuff films and all this stuff. They want this stuff to come out now because they're done with that area of the operation. So now they're slowly rolling this stuff out. And I think that most certainly it does serve the agenda for them to make, this look. I mean, this stuff is, I hate even talking about it, man. I hate talking about this because it's just like, you can't, you know what I mean? You just, somebody always going to take you the wrong way. Cause it's hard for me to not say that there is an agenda, or a gay agenda to all of this stuff. Most certainly there is. But then when you say that or you point out facts of that, then people think that you don't like gay people. And I got no problem if you want to lick, if you want to lick snatch, if you're a girl, fine. If you want to suck cock, if you're a dude, fine. If you're a good person and you're not on the side of these assholes, I don't care if you smoke cock or lick vag. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me are whether or not you're paying attention, whether or not you want to pay attention to this agenda or not. I mean, believe it or not, there are gay people out there that are fully aware of this agenda to, basically effeminize men to make us docile and make us not able to want to fight back. That's what they want. Demasculinize us, get us addicted to video games and all this false reality horse shit. That's what they want to do. Because the only way that these people can even try and win at what they're trying to do is the way they always play dirty, by deceit, by lies. You put these guys on an even playing field, they can't compete. Why? Because they're a bunch of little limp wrists. Oh, man. See, you can't even get into talking about these guys. I got nothing against gay people, but these guys are a bunch of queers. Here's an email from Chris McPherson. Hi, Josh. What about the social programming of Movember? Having men grow mustaches to remind everyone that it's quite normal to get testicular cancer. They should have vitamin B17 day, cannabis oil day, or one of the numerous other known cancer cures. Keep up the great work cutting through the bullshit, dude. Chris, yeah. Thanks, Chris. Definitely a lot of bullshit to cut through, that's for sure. Man, oh man, oh man. Has the war with Iran already begun? I would say so. This is, see, they don't declare wars anymore. They don't go about these things the proper channels anymore. What they do is the intelligence operatives and the intelligence establishments create these proxy wars and these underground covert wars and initiate them through agitation and through coercion and psyops and all this stuff. And then once it's already well into the activities, then they come out later and declare it an actual war or anything else. Absolutely. The evidence of an extensive Western covert program against Tehran and Iran's retaliation is now too obvious to ignore. Two incidents that occurred on Sunday, Iran's claim of a shoot down of a U.S. drone and an explosion outside the British embassy in Bahrain, may have been unrelated, but they appear to add to the growing evidence that an escalating covert war by the West is underway against Iran and that Tehran is retaliating with greater intensity than ever. Asked whether the United States, in cooperation with Israel, was now engaged in a covert war against Iran's nuclear program that may include the Stuxnet virus, the blowing up of facilities, and the assassination or kidnapping of scientists, one recently retired U.S. official privy to the up-to-date intelligence would not deny it. It's safe to say that the Israelis are very active, the official said. So it's on. But they'll probably wait and tell us it's on until, the spring. They like to officially launch wars, the Ides of March. Something just tells me they've been saving this whole Iran thing all these years for 2012. I just think they have. Oh, let's see what else we have here tonight. You know what? I'm going to take a break and come back. Been going for almost an hour here now, so I need to get a drink, take a breather, and we'll come back, finish up with some news. We'll get into Kabbalion tonight. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Go there and order yourself a copy of The Secret Right Volume 2. They're now on sale. Underneath the documentary tab, underneath The Secret Right Volume 2, you can order DVD, Blu-ray packages. We've got different packages, different price points there. Go and order yourself one of those today. And also, please donate at the website, theglobalreality.com. We have a Chivin banner and a donate button there. And help us out, keep us going, and keeping this work going on. We just paying bills last week and having to pay for all these DVDs and Blu-rays this week. We're going to be kind of tapped. So we did get one donation tonight, so thank you so much to Brian for donating tonight. But if you want to help us out as well. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. Yeah, we're getting Moonbatty here tonight for you. Glad you can stay up late with us. Glad we got a little bit more news for you here tonight. We're going to get into the Kabbalion for you here. www.theglobalreality.com is my website. Secret Volume 2 is up there for sale. You can go ahead and order your copies now. Those will be shipping out next few weeks after we get them back in from manufacturing, all that stuff. Definitely excited, very excited for you all to see the film. And thanks to those people who have watched it so far, the pay-per-view thing. And glad you guys have enjoyed it so far. And again, 49 more minutes of the film are up on YouTube right now for you to watch and whet your appetite for the rest of the film. And hopefully encourage you to buy a copy of the DVD or the Blu-ray or any of that stuff. And I think it's definitely one that people need to make copies of. I don't get up here and pull a Jones very often and tell you, folks, burn the info bombs to discs, folks. You got to get out there and burn the info bombs to discs. Aggressively burn them, folks. Get out there and make copies. I don't get up here and tell people that, but I definitely with this, I definitely want to encourage people to do that. I wanted to encourage people also to go to, these truther events, go to these 9/11 rallies, go to these truther events, go try to make some converts, go try to put some information in their hands. Go up to these guys and, say, hey, you're passing on information. Let me pass on information to you. Maybe you need to take a look at your leaders and your figureheads and make sure that you're not participating in some massive psyop that they want you to participate in as an unwitting victim and make you believe that you're doing this on your own free accord to quote unquote fight for the Constitution or fight the New World Order or whatever have you. I mean, I don't know how to get that across to people, how important it is to understand that you have, what we have here is we have the grand agenda, the grand master plan. Then we have people purporting to be talking about that grand master plan. They're a part of that very grand master plan they purport to be talking about. That's a fact. It's not my opinion. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is an absolute fact. So by hook or by crook, everybody, he needs to pull their head out of their asses, out of the sand, out of whatever they've got it stuck in, and realize that's what's going on here. So that's the importance of my film. That's why I suggest that you buy it. Now, that's why I suggest that you donate to my work, and like other people have. You know, we've had very few people have been keeping us alive, and I appreciate those people more than they ever will know, probably. But please help those people out and lighten their load. We had some people help out with the operating costs and DVDs and Blu-rays and equipment and stuff recently, and you know, we need some other people out there to help out as well for the in-between costs. You know what I mean? So please help us out if you can. I mentioned this story earlier, and again, they're telling us about these things now so they can get the public to pay for them. Maybe that's the same thing they want to do now with the chemtrail and stuff operate. They're tired of paying this stuff out of their own pocket, man. That's all this carbon credit, carbon tax stuff is. They want to get us to believe that global warming's real, problem, reaction, solution. They offer up the solution, which is geoengineering, which they've already been doing. And then tell us that, okay, if you want to be safe from global warming and you don't want to die, well, then we're going to need a carbon tax from you. We're going to tax you by the mile and all this other crap, and they're already doing it. So that's another end of the fight, you know. We're going to need people to stand up about this. And the problem is that's people like that are few and far between. But we need people to stand up and say, look, this has been going on forever. Here's the documentation. Here's the evidence. Why are you acting like this is new and trying to get us to pay for it? This is a scam. A group of scientists, philosophers, and legal scholars are looking into radical geoengineering plans to artificially cool the earth in a bid to reverse global warming. A UN climate conference in South Africa on Friday said that in theory, reflecting a small amount of sunlight back into space before it strikes the Earth's surface would have an immediate and dramatic effect. Within a few years, global temperatures could return to levels of 250 years ago, before the Industrial Revolution began dumping carbon dioxide into the air, trapping heat and causing temperatures to rise. That whole paragraph statement right there was an absolute lie. How come we had these same levels and rises in the past on Earth? They've shown this beyond any shadow of a doubt in the data when there weren't cars and emissions and all the rest of the stuff. That's an absolute lie. The thing about it is that this all has to do with cycles of the sun. But if they admit their knowledge of these cycles of the sun, then that's going to upturn religion and all this other stuff. But they absolutely know. Absolutely they know. Way ahead of time. Let's see what else we have in the stack here tonight. Air Force Academy adapts to pagans, druids, witches, and Wiccans. Officials say an $80,000 Stonehenge-like worship center underscores a commitment to embrace all religions. Mike, hello, Michael. Can we know anybody? They've been incorporating this New Age military stuff in here since the 80s, folks. I mean, why do you think they have a theosophical meditation temple inside of the United Nations building? Come on. Pull your head out of your asses and realize these guys running the show are not Christians or whatever they might purport to be. That's all phony. It's all, like Jones saying, folks, I come from Protestants, folks. Why are people saying I'm a Catholic? Nobody's saying you're a Catholic, bucko. People are saying that you're a Jesuit. And to be a Jesuit does not necessarily mean you have to be a Catholic. There are people out there, I've seen quotes from them. There are Protestant Knights of Maltas. So don't give me that phony Protestant versus, Catholicism stuff. It's all one and the same. It's all the priest class. It's all, whatever faction you lean towards or your family lean towards is of no consequence. Nice try again, though, Jonesy. I mean, I got to give you an A for effort, but it's just not working anymore. CMP buddy Rick Santorum, he says that science should be the role of science should be to say, well, we'll never know. Yeah, Rick Santorum says that science's role when we discover something that we don't know the answer to, at that moment, instead of trying to investigate and find out the answer to a question we don't know, that's the point when we should say, well, it's from a higher power, it's from God, so that's the answer. What? I mean, I took a big shit one time, and it was really strange looking and an odd shape to it, and I really wanted someone to come look at it so I could have a witness, but I didn't run around saying, hey, come here, come look at my shit. This is from God. Look at it. It's awesome. But that's definitely what Santorum's trying to do here. He's trying to get us to look at a big pile of shit and think it's awesome. That about wraps that one up. Well, this is disgusting right here. If we really have degenerated to this point as a society, I don't know. Maybe it's time to hit the nuke button. A 7-year-old boy in Boston is being accused in being investigated by his South Boston Elementary School for possible sexual harassment after kicking another boy in the crotch. The first grader's mother, Tasha Lynch, says she was shocked by the school's decision. He's 7 years old. He doesn't know anything about sexual harassment, she said. Lynch's son, Mark Karan, said the boy that he kicked had been bullying him on the school bus ride home from Tynan Elementary last week. He just all of a sudden came up to him and choked him. He wanted to take his gloves, and my son said I couldn't breathe, so I kicked him in the testicles. Lynch described a phone call she received from the school explaining that the case will be treated like sexual harassment due to what it considers inappropriate touching. Your son kicked a little boy in the testicles. We call that sexual harassment. So it's okay for this boy to come up and choke you and try to steal your shit, but if you kick him in the nads, yet we program women and girls and everything, if a rapist comes up, honey, what's the first thing to do? Kick him in the nads. But of course, that's considered sexual harassment now. Defending yourself from a bully. I think whoever this principal is, they need to be kicked in the nads. And if they don't have nads and it's a female, she needs to be kicked in her uterus. Deep and hard with a steel-toed boot. I'll line up to be the giver if nobody else is willing. Just going to throw that out there. I'm always game to put a steel toe in an orifice if need be. Put that on my resume. Oh, it says here, Mr. Reed, that you don't mind putting a foot in somebody's ass. Oh, you're going to be great here. You're going to be a great asset to our company. Thank you. Oh, man. All right. Yeah, I'm done with the news tonight. Let's get into the Kabbalion, chapter 2 here for you tonight. The 7 Hermetic Principles. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows these understandingly possesses the magic key before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open. The 7 Hermetic principles upon which the entire Hermetic philosophy is based are as follows. Number 1, the principle of mentalism. Number 2, the principle of correspondence. Number 3, the principle of vibration. Number 4, the principle of polarity. Number 5, the principle of rhythm. Number 6, the principle of cause and effect. Number 7, the principle of gender. These 7 principles will be discussed and explained as we proceed with these lessons. A short explanation of each, however, may as well be given at this point. Number 1, the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. This principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains the all, which is the substantial reality underlining all the outward manifestations of appearances, which we know under the terms of the material universe, the phenomenon of life, matter, energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses, is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as a universal, infinite living mind. It also explains that all the phenomenal world or universe is simply a mental creation of the all, subject to the laws of created things, and that the universe as a whole and in its parts or units has its existence in the mind of the all, in which mind we live and move and have our being. This principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all of the varied mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. An understanding of this great hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. The Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental laws, instead of using them in a haphazard manner. With the master key in his possession, the student may unlock many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge and enter the same freely and intelligently. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and why and how all these are subordinate to the mastery of mind. One of the old Hermetic masters wrote long ages ago, "He who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery." And these words are as true today as at the time they were first written. Without this master key, mastery is impossible, and the student knocks in vain at the many doors of the temple. Number 2, the principle of correspondence. This principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomenon of the various planes of being and life. The old Hermetic axiom ran in these words, "As above, so below, as below, so above." And the grasping of this principle gives one the means of solving many a dark paradox and hidden secret of nature. And indeed, say that's true. That's one to me. That's one of the secret ways of finding out. That's the whole thing. You can find out what's going on. It's like if you see something going on in a small scale, then that means it's somewhere. There's a good chance it's going on a large scale somewhere else. And that's where it makes you go, "Oh wow." Huh. There are planes beyond our knowing. But when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable to us. This principle is of universal application and manifestation on the various planes of the material, mental, and spiritual universe. It is a universal law. The ancient Hermeticists considered this principle as one of the most important mental instruments by which man was able to pry aside the obstacles which hid from view the unknown. Its use even tore aside the veil of Isis, to the extent that a glimpse of the face of the goddess might be caught. Just as a knowledge of the principles of geometry enables man to measure distant suns and their movements while seated in his observatory, so a knowledge of the principle of correspondence enables man to reason intelligently from the known to the unknown. Studying the monad, he understands the archangel. Number 3, the principle of vibration. This principle embodies the truth that everything is in motion. Everything vibrates. Nothing is at rest. Facts which modern science endorses and which each new scientific discovery tends to verify, and yet this Hermetic principle was enunciated thousands of years ago by the masters of ancient Egypt. This principle explains that the differences between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rates of vibration, from the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter. All is in vibration, The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scale. The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practically at rest, just as the rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low as to seem at rest. Between these poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration, from corpuscle to electron, atom and molecule, to worlds and universes. Everything is in vibratory motion. This is also true on the planes of energy and force, which are but varying degrees of vibration, and also on the mental planes, whose states depend upon vibrations. That's where the term vibes comes from. Oh, I don't know, man. I got a bad vibe about that. Vibe is vibration. When you get a vibe from something, you're feeling the vibration of that, whether it be negative or positive. That's a real term. That's where it comes from. And even on to the spiritual planes. An understanding of this principle with the appropriate formulas enables Hermetic students to control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others. The masters who apply this principle to conquering of natural phenomena in various ways. He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power, says one of the old writers. Number 4, the principle of polarity. This principle embodies the truth that everything is dual. Everything has two poles. Everything has its pair of opposites, all of which were old Hermetic axioms. It explains the old paradoxes that have perplexed so many, which have been stated as follows. Thesis and antithesis. Thesis and antithesis are identical in nature, but different in degree. Opposites are the same, differing only in degree. The pairs of opposites may be reconciled. Extremes meet. Everything is and isn't at the same time. All truths are but half-truths. Every truth is a half false. There are two sides to everything, etc., etc. It explains that in everything there are two poles or opposite aspects, and that opposites are really only the two extremes of the same thing, with many varying degrees between them. To illustrate heat and cold, although opposites are really the same thing, the differences consisting merely of degrees of the same thing. Look at your thermometer and see if you can discover where heat terminates and cold begins. There is simply no such thing as absolute heat or absolute cold. The two terms heat and cold simply indicate varying degrees of the same thing, and that same thing which manifests as heat and cold is merely a form, a variety, and a rate of vibration. So heat and cold are simply the two poles of that which we call heat, and the phenomena attendant thereupon are manifestations of the principle of polarity. The same principle manifests in the case of light and darkness, which are the same thing, the difference consisting of varying degrees between the two poles of the phenomena. Where does darkness leave off and light begin? What is the difference between large and small, between hard and soft, between black and white, between sharp and dull, noise and quiet, high and low, positive, negative? The principle of polarity explains these paradoxes, and no other principle can supersede it. The same principle operates on the mental plane. Let us take a radical and extreme example of love and hate. Two mental states apparently totally different, and yet there are degrees of hate and degrees of love, and a middle point in which we use terms like or dislike, which shade into each other so gradually that sometimes we are at a loss to know whether we like or dislike or neither. And all are simply degrees of the same thing, as you will see if you will think but a moment. And more than this, and considered, that doesn't make any sense. And all are simply degrees of the same thing, as you will see if you will but think a moment. And more than this, and considered of more importance by the Hermeticists, it is possible to change the vibrations of hate to the vibrations of love in one's own mind and in the minds of others. Many of you who read these lines have had personal experiences of the involuntary rapid transition from love to hate, and the reverse in your own case and that of others. And you will therefore realize the possibility of this being accomplished by the use of the will, by the means of the Hermetic formulas. Good and evil, but are the poles of the same thing, and the Hermeticist understands the art of transmuting good into evil by means of an application of the principle of polarity. In short, the art of polarization becomes a phase of mental alchemy, known and practiced by the ancient and modern Hermetic masters. An understanding of the principle will enable one to change his own polarity as well as that of others, if he will devote the time and study necessary to master the art. Number 5, the principle of rhythm. This principle embodies the truth that in everything there is manifested a measured motion, to and fro, a flow and inflow, a swing backward and forward, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and low tide between the two poles which exist in accordance with the principle of polarity described a moment ago. There is always an action and a reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking. This is in the affairs of the universe, suns, worlds, men, animals, mind, energy, and matter. This law is manifest in the creation and destruction of worlds, in the rise and fall of nations, in the life of all things, and finally in the mental states of man. And it is with this latter that the Hermeticists find the understanding of the principle most important. The Hermeticists have grasped this principle, finding its universal application, have also discovered certain means to overcome its effects in themselves by the use of the appropriate formulas and methods. They apply the mental law of neutralization. They cannot annul the principle or cause it to cease its operation, but they have learned how to escape its effects upon themselves to a certain degree, but depending upon the mastery of the principle. They have learned how to use it instead of being used by it. In this and similar methods consist the art of Hermeticists. The master of Hermetics polarizes himself at the point at which he desires to rest, and then neutralizes the rhythmic swing of the pendulum, which would tend to carry him to the other pole. All individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery do this to a certain degree, more or less unconsciously. But the master does this consciously, and by the use of his will, and attains a degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief on the part of the masses who are swung backward and forward like a pendulum. I've read the 7 aphorisms of Summon on the show before. This sounds like the same exact thing. I don't know if anybody can verify this for me, but I read something on the show. I read it a few times a few years ago, the 7 aphorisms of Summon, and I swear this is the same goddamn thing. I mean, I'll keep reading it, but I feel like I've read this before. This is the same, because I talked about this, the pendulum swing, all this stuff. I don't know if you guys that have been out there listening for a while, but yeah. Principle of gender. Yeah, see, I've gone all through this before. So I'm not going to read any of the rest of that. I've gone through the 7 aphorisms of Summon before. That's what those are. And there's just like 1 or 2 left, but there's the next chapter. We'll stop there and pick up on chapter 3 next time. Mental transmutation. But yeah, I was thinking when I was reading that, some of this stuff sounded real familiar to me. My sister Jamie the other day said that she thought she read that book when she worked at the bookstore. She may have actually remembered me reading it, probably why it sounded familiar, but yeah, I read this because somebody asked me to read it, but I do feel like I've gone through some of this stuff already with I don't know. I didn't know the 7 aphorisms of Summon came from the Kabbalion, but apparently I guess it does. Because I'd read that stuff on the show a few years ago, because there was a story about this guy in Utah that wanted to have those 7 aphorisms put on a tablet next to the 10 Commandments in this park in Utah, and the Mormons got all butthurt and wouldn't let him do it. But anyway, we'll pick up on chapter 3 on the show tomorrow evening. Want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please donate and support our work at legalmorality.com. Get a DVD there as well. Watch the other 49 minutes of Secret Right Volume 2. It's out right now. My name's Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you next time for the broadcast. You guys have a great one. Take care.